All right, so notes 5.6 and it is the intro to systems of elimination. And so far, we've had graphing and substitution. Elimination is the last one that we're going to do. So what you need to do here in this box is your guidelines for elimination. So step 1, line it up so that like terms are in the same columns, and just make sure the sign in front of the number follows the number. For one of the variables, 1, so either x or y, one of the variables, check. Do you first have the same coefficient, okay, which is the number in front? If not, multiply the entire equation to make it match. Second, do you have opposite signs, plus and minus? If not, multiply -1 to one of the equation. Then, after that, you'd add like terms in each column. At minimum, one variable must be canceled. Sometimes both can be canceled. We've seen that before. But at minimum, one must cancel. Then you're going to solve for the variable or letter that is left. Replace the number you get in number 4 into an OG equation to find the other letter's number. So let's do it. So looking at this one, I'm going to label these 1 and 2. So first, is everything lined up? Like terms are in the same column. So looking at here, are these the same like terms? Yes, they both have x's. Here, 8y and 9y, they are like terms. Equal signs are lined up. Equal signs must also be lined up. I know that's silly, but it's true. And then last but not least, 8 and 9 are like terms. So, like terms are all lined up, hunky-dory, beautiful. Now, what we're going to do, for one of the variables, check, do we have the same coefficient up front? So, looking at our x's, do we have the same number in front? Yes, we have 7s. So, and then the 8s and 9, those are not alike. So we're going to look at the green one. Do they have opposite signs? So of the 7s, do we have opposite signs? Is one positive and one negative? Yes. So we're good here. Both of those are good. So now it's time to add the like terms in each column. So what I'm going to do is erase all this mess and do some math. So I'm going to add these. And remember, if you do like 4 plus 4 when you were a kid, you had this little bar here. We're going to use that again. So let's do this. 7x minus 7x cancel. So I'm going to cross those out. They cancel. This leaves us with, well, what is 8y plus 9y? This gives us 17y. Bring down the equal sign. You can't add equal signs. Don't try. And then we have 8 plus 9. Well, that gives us 17. Hey, look at this. We've canceled something. We only have one letter type left that we can solve for. And what we can do is divide by 17 on both sides so that we get y equals 1. This is lovely. So far, remember our solutions need to be in the order x, y. We know that y's number is 1. We need to figure out x's number. Now, we can use either one. We can use the first one or the second one. Now, knowing myself, not very good with dealing with negatives. So I'm going to use the first one. Does it matter? It sure don't. But I'm going to use the first equation to find x. So first thing I'm going to do is rewrite it all the way out because I don't want to make any silly sign mistakes, and double check that everything matches up. Everything matches up. So we're good. And I'm going to point a little arrow here so you guys understand what that one is from. All right, now what do I know about y? Well, I know y is 1, right? I got that from over here. So I'm going to replace that y with a 1. So I got 7x plus 8 times 1 equals 8. Hey, now I have one letter left. I can do math stuff. Parentheses, 8 times 1 is 8. So this gives me 7x plus 8 equals 8. Subtract my coefficient first. I'm sorry, subtract my constant first. So I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. This leaves us with 7x equals 0. Oh, that's okay. Don't freak out. It's okay if you get a 0. All we have to do is divide away the 7, which gives us x equals 0. So x's number is 0 for our solution. And look at that. We are done with this problem. I love elimination. I think it is the bee's knees, the best thing ever. Let's look at the next one. So I have our steps written out over here on the right. So first, is it lined up in each column? So let's check. X's are lined up, Y's are lined up, equal signs are lined up, and constants are lined up. So we're good. Constants are numbers without a variable. So everything's lined up. Great. Now we got to check one of our variables. Does it have the same sign? So looking at our two letter types, we got X's and Y's. So right now it looks like my Y's have the same coefficient. That's good. So we're going to check that off. Do they have opposite signs? So let's look. In front of those 6's, do we have one a plus and one a minus? Yes, we do. So I can check that off. So that means step 2 is totally done. Now I'm going to go to step 3 and add my equations. So let's do that. Draw my line, add my stuff. So negative 2x plus negative 3x gives us a negative 5x. 6y minus 6y, cancel. Equal sign gets brought down because you can't add equal signs. Then we have 16 plus 9 gives us 25. Okay, so we added our equations. Now we can solve. And you know what I love about elimination? Once it's all solved up, you can really, you should all be left is dividing, right? So we can divide by negative 5 on both sides. This gives us x equals a negative 5. So we know x's number is negative 5. So remember, it's got to be written as x comma y, negative 5. We got to figure out y. So of our first and second equation here, which one would be easier to use? Well, it really doesn't matter, but I'm just going to stick with using 1. So I'm going to use 1 again. So that is negative 2x plus 6y equals 16. What do we know? Well, we know x's number is negative 5 from over here. So I am going to do some math stuff and figure out y's number. So we got negative 2. We know x's number is negative 5, so I'm going to replace x with that. But nothing else was changed. Everything else can get brought down. Now I do some math. Negative 2 times a negative 5 is a positive 10. So we have 10 plus 6y equals 16. Well, I can subtract this 10 away from both sides using my math skills from Module 4. This gives me 6y equals 6. I can divide that 6 away on both sides. This leaves me with y equals 1. So now I know y's number is 1. And look at that. We are done. Lovely. Let's move on to the next problem. All right, so looking at our next problem, is it lined up? Well, let's look. We have 3x and negative 4y. Whoa, those aren't like terms, so we need to move some stuff around. So let's look at this first problem here. I'm going to flip-flop the locations of these two terms. The sign goes with it. So that means when I flip-flop, it's going to be a negative 3x minus 4y equals negative 13. And then I'm just going to bring this guy down. So we got 3x minus y equals negative 22. Now, they are lined up. X's, y's, equal signs, and constants. So this is good. Everything's lined up now. Whew, phew, that was super close. Now, is one variable got the same coefficient and opposite signs? So let's do a twofer here. Do we have this? Well, x has 3's in front, and one's positive, one's negative. So we're done with step 2. Now it is time to add the equations. So I'm going to erase my purple mark away, do my math stuff. Negative 3x and 3x cancel. Now I have to add negative 4y and negative y. Remember, this is like a negative 1y. This gives us a negative 5y. Equal signs get brought down because they can't be added. Negative 13 plus negative 22 gives us a negative 35. Hey, we're done. We have one letter. All we have left to do is dividing. So let's divide away that negative 5 so that we get y equals 7. Because negative 35 divided by negative 5 is a positive 7. So we know y's number is 7. We need to figure out x's number. Looking at my two equations here, I forgot to label them, 1 and 2. My first equation is probably going to be the easiest of the two, has less negatives. So I'm going to use 1. So I'm going to rewrite it to make sure I don't make any silly sign mistakes and everything matches up so we're good. We know that y is 7. So this means we're going to have 3x minus 7 for replacing the y equals negative 22. See how only the y changed. Now remember, this is like a negative 1. So negative 1 times 7 leaves us with 3x minus 7 equals negative 22. Now I can do solve stuff. Add 7 on both sides. This leaves us with 3x equals negative 15. Divide by 3 on both sides. This leaves us with x equals negative 5. So my solution is negative 5, 7. Again, of your two equations you choose, it doesn't really matter. I just usually choose the first one just because I do. All right, let's look at the next guy. Go through my checklist. Is everything lined up? Well, let's check. Oh, we have an x and a y. These aren't lined up. So I'm going to erase this. And I see here that my x and my y need to be flipped around so that everything lines up. Now remember, you're going to take all of that, negative 6x, and flip it around. So we got negative 6x. This 7y here is positive, so I'm going to still show that because I have to show plus 7y. And that was the only thing I needed to rearrange. I'm going to bring back down my first equation. Let me label these guys. So we got 6x minus 7y equals negative 20. Make sure you copy and paste correctly. Now we're all lined up. X's, y's, equal signs, constants. Everybody's lined up, so we're good. Everybody's good. Now let's do a twofer. Let's double check. It has to have the same coefficient and opposite signs. So one of our letters does have the same coefficient and opposite signs. 6x does. But wait, so does this guy. I wonder what's going to happen. So step number 2 is good. Now we're going to add the equations. Here we go. We have a negative 6x plus 6x. This cancels. We have 7y plus a negative 7y. Also cancels. Is everything cancels? All we got left is a 0 over here. Equal signs can't be added, so bring it down. Negative 13 minus 20 plus a negative 20 gives you a negative 33. Ho ho. So once again, all our letters canceled. But we're left with this statement. 0 equals negative 33. Is that true? No siree, Bob. 0 doesn't equal negative 33. And whenever all letters canceled and we're left with something that is not true, that means we have a no solution. All right. So just like before with substitution. Let's look at the next problem, shall we? We're going to check if everything's all lined up. So let's look here. X's are with X's, that's good. Y's are with Y's, that's good. Equal signs are good. Constants are good. So everybody's all lined up, no fixin'. Now we gotta check, is one variable got the same coefficient and opposite signs? All right, looks like our X's have the 2's up front and opposite signs. But hold up, wait a minute. Y's got 3 up front and opposite signs. I wonder what's gonna happen this time. So this checks off. So now we're going to add our equations. So let's do that. Negative 2x and 2x cancel. 3y plus a negative 3y cancel. So that means we're left with total zeros. Equals negative 22 plus 22 cancels. Oh my gosh, we're left with 0 equals 0. So what does this mean? Well, all our letters canceled, and we're left with 0 equals 0. Well, 0 does equal 0. And since that's true and all the letters canceled, this means we have infinite solutions for our answer. And that's the end of this video. Please do your homework as well, and I'll see you next time.